heavy amount of pesticides being found in some of our fruits and vegetables. Let's discuss. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another coffee rant with Dano and Frank, our Patriot Bald Eagle. If you have to hit pause on this video to get your coffee or whatever beverage you deem necessary, join us in this discussion tonight of heavy amounts of pesticides being found in a lot of our canned, frozen, and fresh fruits and some vegetables. Let's get into it here. We are reading, there are multiple reports. The one I found that was laid out is CBS. CBS News has an article here on this that we're going to take some from, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on and what we need to do to make sure that we are taking as less of a chance of consuming as many pesticides as possible. We want to make sure that we're washing our fruits and vegetables all the time, which me and Jessica do constantly, and other ways of washing your vegetables, any way you can, especially with what's going on. These things just keep happening, guys. They keep happening. With the recalls and this going on, it's just, I don't know. We have to keep our head on a swivel and keep moving forward. So they go on, their article says pesticides pose a significant risk in 20%, not about 20%. 20% of fruits and vegetables in this consumer report here. They go on to say a healthy diet includes ample portions of fruits and vegetables, but not the unhealthy dose of pesticides found in about 1 in 5 of the produce examined by Consumer Reports. 1 in 5. Okay, so your odds of picking up something that has a heavy amount of pesticides in it is pick up 5 of these. One of them is probably going to be very heavy in pesticides, which, I understand that we have to use pesticides in a lot of different things to keep bugs out, other things and stuff like that. But this is a significant amount of pesticides, harmful levels of pesticides. So, an examination of 59 common fruits and vegetables found pesticides pose significant risks in 20% of them, from bell peppers, blueberries, green beans, potatoes, and strawberries, according to the findings published Thursday by the nonprofit consumer advocacy group. In its most comprehensive review yet, CR said it analyzed 7 years of data from the Department of Agriculture, which every year tests a selection of conventional and organic produce grown in or imported to the U.S. for pesticide residues. Quote, our new results continue to raise red flags, end quote, CR said in its report. In addition to finding unhealthy levels of chemicals used by farmers to control bugs, fungi, weeds, One Food green beans had residues of pesticide that hasn't been allowed for use on vegetables in the U.S. for more than a decade. But here's the kicker. We can get them from other countries that do use them, right? Ongoing investigation about the Cheerios as well. Let me just say that there's been more and more reports of, and there hasn't been a recall on it, right? But the chlormequat, the chemical that's used to keep the wheat looking straight and unnatural, right? Because the natural thing's for it to fall over, but you can't yield as much wheat and grain. You can't yield as much wheat out of that, right? So the chemicals are used to produce the yields, right, for Quaker and Cheerios, and not going to go into that, save that for another day. It's an ongoing investigation, though, and I just wanted to mention that because if you eat Cheerios, there's an ongoing investigation of the chlormequat, which is the chemical used to keep the yields high by keeping the wheat straight up in the air, which is unnatural. It's unnatural. It's not the way it should be done. But anyway, one point. A couple of our viewers had mentioned that in the comments the other day, and we have been covering that for a while, and, it just didn't seem like it was really, it seemed like, we still have all these Cheerios in the stores. We still have the Quaker Oats and everything, like all these things that are being used from this outside of the country to put them back in the country. We're not allowed using chlormequat here in the United States, but we can have other countries use it and then just ship it here. How does that make any sense? I don't know. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because here's another instance of this, okay? Imported produce, especially from Mexico, was particularly likely to carry risky levels of pesticide residuals, CR found. They said the good news, there's no need to worry about pesticides in almost 2/3 of produce, including nearly all the organic fruits and vegetables examined. 2/3. So what about the other third? And how are you able to tell? Right? It's by everything you get. Wash it, wash it, wash it. I feel like this should not be. I see people that go into stores and they're eating grapes. They're eating, like, taking a couple grapes out. Yeah, I understand you're testing it and you see how they taste, or you just want a snack. Either way, I just think to myself, like, here we are in a world where the pesticides are just being used like crazy, right? And people are going into stores taking bites of berries and stuff like that. I don't know. It's not me. I'm just throwing that out there. Um, the analysis found broccoli to be a safe bet. For instance, not because the vegetable did not contain pesticide residues, but because higher risk chemicals were at low levels and on a few samples. So the higher risk chemicals were very low samples. So you should be okay, right? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. I'm just the messenger here. Had a lot of our viewers send me emails and stuff about this one here. We have other things that we're going to discuss in some other news breaks coming up. I know there is a lot going on. We can't go one day without some recall or some chemical that is in the food here. That, it's a good thing we're getting this information out here, though. It's good that we're getting, it's good that we're getting the information, because we would never know. We would never know. How many people watching this video right now knew that there were 20% of our vegetables being imported right now were in a crazy amount? I know there was a lot of news about the strawberries. Now, this article doesn't focus just on the strawberries. This is on everything, okay? But strawberries have had a very heavy amount of pesticides in them, especially ones that are imported right now. And a lot of that has to do because strawberries sit very close to the ground. There's a lot of saturation and stuff. It could cause things to run down one side of the field or something, and then it just, maybe sits there, So, but there's been a lot of that frozen as well. Not very specific on which ones, though, which is like I said, these things have just popped up. So they're kind of ongoing investigations. I usually don't like to do a video like this until there has been a massive investigation, but we have to get this out here now because, one, it pertains to a lot of the things that we talk about on the channel. Food, right? I mean, our main goal is to always find good deals on food. In a world where that's almost impossible to do, we have to worry about all these other little things too, making it an absolute headache to go grocery shopping. Okay, so let's see. Health problems arise from long-term exposure to pesticides, or if the exposure occurs during pregnancy or in early childhood, according to James Rogers, a microbiologist who oversees food safety at CR. CR advises that shoppers limit exposure to harmful pesticides by using its analysis to help determine, for instance, when buying organic makes the most sense, given that it's often a substantially more expensive option. The findings do not mean people need to cut out higher risk foods from their diets completely, as eating them every now and then is fine, said Rogers. He advised swapping out white potatoes for sweet ones or eating snap peas instead of green beans as healthy choices. Quote, so you're not eating those riskier foods every time. So I guess in summarization, this guy's saying, don't always get fresh green beans. Eat them every now and then. You probably shouldn't eat them every day. Well, you can't make this stuff up, guys. You really can't. I mean, this is just crazy. Grow your own. Grow your own. We all need to start growing. You better, grow what you can. I understand a lot of it can be a hassle for a lot of people who work all day and stuff. You hope that you can just go to the store and buy some fresh green beans, right? Good to go. It's not anymore, guys. You need to make sure that if you do, that you're just washing it. And there's other ways of washing your fruits and vegetables too to get even more stuff off of them, which I'm not too familiar with, but I know a lot of our viewers have talked about different ways of cleaning vegetables and stuff like that to make sure that at least as much of this pesticides has been removed as possible. I wash my peppers like crazy. And also, this is the way I do it, okay? Like, because I know I always talk about buying peppers and stuff, chopping them up and freezing. Now, you don't want to let them soak. Unless you are letting them soak in like some kind of solution to help remove, which I won't go into because I'm not 100% on some of these things. But anyway, I do it through running water. I wash them through running water, and I keep the water running while I'm washing them, so it's not sitting there and just soaking in to the vegetables. I may be wrong in this. It's the way I do it. It's the way I do it. I run the water, and I wash them as the water's running to wash everything off as I'm doing it. And I do this before I even cut them up. And then when I cut them up, then I use like the colander thing and then wash them again, you know? I mean, it's just, I'm freezing most of them anyway. This is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's all ridiculous, but the best choice is to eat organic for every high-risk item. Citing blueberries as an example, where paying more translates into less pesticides. We recommend the USDA organic label because it's better regulated versus organic imports. Does it sound like the imports are being better regulated if we get 20%? Right? 20% is a high number. But you say, well, you don't have to worry too much. Don't worry too much, right? Because it's only a third that's affected. Do the math on that. I don't have to think too hard to realize that a third that is going to be heavily ridden with pesticides is a enormous number. Enormous. Millions and millions and millions. I don't know. Not talking about these things to scare anybody. We're just talking about these things to bring awareness. To bring awareness of what's going on, what's coming into the country, and what we need to do. What we need to do to make sure that we're not eating this stuff, you know, with all this heavy-laden pesticides on it. Wash your food. Thousands of workers become ill from pesticide poisonings each year. Interesting. And studies have linked on-the-job use of a variety of pesticides with a higher risk health problems, including Parkinson's disease, breast cancer, and diabetes. Wow. And that is where this article ends. Again, this is CBS News. CBS News site here. If you would like to look that up. Some scary crap, guys. Some scary stuff. What's even scarier is the next thing we're going to talk about. And I wasn't going to talk about this. Also, so much, guys. So much. But I feel we need to carry on here for just another minute because there is another item that is targeting children. And I do not like it. Nobody should. Lunchables lead. You just start to type it in. Lunchables lead. Isn't this interesting? After just going through the lead, heavy amounts of lead in multiple different things of cinnamon, right? It's all started. We probably would have never found out about this, or nobody probably would have ever said anything if they didn't find the heavy, ridiculous amounts of lead in a cinnamon applesauce packet that is targeted for children. Now, let it be known and said that a lot of these have been imports. A lot of this has come from overseas. So, you know, and I know that cinnamon, it has a small, very, very tiny amount of lead. A very non-lethal amount of lead. Okay? So, but the FDA has come out and said an investigation in some things where it seems like the amount of lead has actually been added in. Okay? I mean, take that for what you will, but I mean, when they're coming out and saying this, and then you read something like this, okay? Now, this is on USA Today. Is there lead in Lunchables? What to know after Consumer Reports released guidance to the USDA. Lunchables are, quote, stackable as they are snackable, end quote, according to the website for the packaged meals. But a recent report is causing some parents to doubt whether their children should be eating them. After hearing this, you may doubt a little further. Consumer Reports called on the U.S. Department of Agriculture on Tuesday to remove Lunchables from the National School Lunch Program because of, quote, higher levels of sodium. Okay, now we know that they're loaded with sodium. We've known this for years. And, quote, high levels of lead in the food kits. High levels of lead. They go on to say, quote, Lunchables are not a healthy option for kids and shouldn't be allowed on the menu as part of the National School Lunch Program. I agree. Now, Brian Ronholm, Director of Food Policy at Consumer Reports, which launched a petition to the USDA, said in the release, the Lunchables and similar lunch kits we tested contain concerning levels of sodium and harmful chemicals that can lead to serious health problems over time. They go on to show photos of different Lunchables here. Kraft Heinz says Consumer Reports study that found high levels of lead, sodium in Lunchables is misleading. Okay, now this, we'll see what happens, right? This is the launch of the investigation. So this is coming from the company, this is coming from them, so, we'll see what happens. But again, we got hundreds of comments on this, so we had to discuss it, especially anything that ever involves children. We have to make sure that we are finding out all the information. Now, the whole sodium thing, I agree on this. Like, we've known that there's been very high levels of sodium in these for years. I mean, it says it right on the back of the package. So, we know this. Okay, so they go on to say, in a statement emailed by USA Today on Thursday, Kraft Heinz, owner of Lunchables, said, quote, we are extremely disappointed with the reporting from Consumer Reports and believe the results of their study are misleading, causing undue concern over the safety of our products. We'll answer the lead question here because we know the sodium one. The fact, quote, the fact is all Lunchable products meet strict safety standards set by government agencies, Kraft Heinz said. Consumer Reports admits that none of the food they tested exceeded any legal or regulatory limits, but they chose to bury that fact. Well, whether that's a fact or not, get to the lead. In Consumer Reports reporting on metals, the results of the study are based on California's maximum allowed dose for heavy metals. The Chicago, Illinois headquarters food company said all Kraft Heinz products, including Lunchables, quote, tested well below the acceptable limits, according to the company. Quote, the metals they focus on are naturally occurring and thus low levels may be present in any food product, Kraft Heinz said. Quote, we do not add these elements to our products. Okay, so I think it's funny because they're kind of hinting at the added lead to other products, maybe to increase weight, right? Not them, right? And it's hard. I want to say I believe them, right? Kraft Heinz, known company here, right? But with all these investigations going on with all the different cinnamon and applesauce products and heavy amounts of lead in items, one has to ask that question. But now it's been launched, so now there will be an investigation. So whether they're right or other people are right, at least it's getting out there now, okay? At least it's getting out there now so that we can have an investigation on these said products, okay? Where lead even comes into this, okay? And if it's a very small amount and something that, might have been misunderstood, that's fine. But this is an item, we need to check it out. These are more things that we need to start doing and taking control of here in our country so that things like this cinnamon stuff and pesticide, all this other stuff, gets under control. Because we have to think what most people are going to do. I would like to hope that most people wash their vegetables and fruits and stuff, but they probably don't. They probably don't go the extra mile. And I'm not saying that's, it's just it's the easy way of life of thinking. The easy thinking way of life. And I just have to assume that most people aren't going to be washing their vegetables and fruit, stuff like that. At least, I would say at least half. Okay? And if it is just half, that's probably better than, 95% of people. But yes, always a good idea to watch these things. Always a good idea to check these things out anyway. And, we give Kraft Heinz the benefit of the doubt for a minute until they have found that it's safe and everything. But there's a reason why this investigation is being launched. Let's not forget that. Lunchables adhere to all USDA standards, Kraft Heinz says. Kraft Heinz maintains that the National School Lunch Program approved Lunchables adhere to all USDA standards, end quote, according to the statement. And I'd like to believe that that is true. Quote, we increase the amount of meat in the products to increase protein levels and help fuel kids throughout the day, the food company said. Quote, with more meats comes natural elevated levels of sodium to ensure safe preservation of the product. It's worth reiterating that Consumer Reports did not test our school products. Let me read that again. It's worth noting that Consumer Reports did not test our school products. So, okay. So, sounds like there's going to be a little bit of an investigation in this, and that is good. Let me say this. Let me give my little Dano opinion on this real quick. So, both sides have admitted to very high levels of sodium. You just admitted to adding more meat, more protein, trying to do a good thing, give the kids protein, but still saying that it's an extraordinarily high amount of sodium. Okay? So, that's not good. That's not good for anyone. That's not good for anybody. Now, I mean, I get it. You're preserving it so that, it can sit on the shelf until somebody actually buys it, right? But should we be doing this? Should you be doing this? Should you be feeding your children this? I'm just the messenger here, but I'm just saying, the proof is in the pudding here. I mean, both sides are admitting to the sodium thing. We'll find out about the lead later, I guess, because it doesn't seem like it's really... let me say, too, they have not been recalled. They have not been recalled yet. We'll get into this just a second. But the sodium levels, I mean, isn't it better to just pack your lunch? Isn't that ultimately cheaper, too, in the long run? And you're getting the quality, even if you bought the most expensive meats and maybe cut somewhere on the different bread, maybe get some different bread that doesn't have high amounts of sodium or anything else in it. We got to look at all these things these days. But isn't that the better way to go? I understand Lunchables are fun. You get the little cookie, maybe get creative, right? I used to know a girl who, for her kids, she would make up her own Lunchables, right? That were healthier, that wasn't packed with preservatives and everything. And then you should do a little cookie, right? Like an Oreo cookie. So yeah, I mean, or you gotta have a little sweet, I guess. But she would make it up for her kids, and it would make it fun. And her whole thing is that it was about, not having all the different preservatives and sodium in the products, because there is a lot. And those meals, when not on sale, they're almost like $3 a pack now. They're anywhere between $2.19 and $2.49. I've seen regular price. So, and you don't get much. You don't get much anyway. So you got to factor that out through the course of a week, right? How much are you going to really save by buying those, if anything? You're basically paying just for convenience. But anyway, my little opinion on that. But I understand, sometimes, parents work hard jobs and fast, and, they gotta kind of move. But just putting the information out here, letting you know that, yes, they are very high in sodium. They are not healthy for anyone. Okay, so are Lunchables being recalled? Lunchables have not been recalled. Consumer Reports is suggesting that to the USDA that the snack kits be removed from the National School Lunch Program. That's going to be hard to do. Kraft Heinz would have to voluntarily initiate a recall for Lunchables, according to the FDA. In some situations, the FDA can request or mandate a recall, but the federal agency has not done so for Lunchables. If it did, any violation could be corrected and Lunchables would return to the marketplace, according to the FDA's website. They go on to say here, I'll just go through this thing real quick. They go on, are Lunchables healthy? I think we've deemed that they are not. Maya Feller, a registered dietitian and nutritionist who worked with the New York City Public Schools, said she's concerned about the, quote, regular inclusion of Lunchables and Lunchable type kits because they're not, quote, nutrient dense options for students, according to the interview with ABC News, which, if you look on USA Today, they have links to all these different articles and everything, which is nice. You can kind of continue down the rabbit hole of the internet if you wish. Quote, the high sodium content is definitely a concern, especially from a young age, Feller said. The health risks associated with high and chronic consumption of added salts are well documented. So they've kind of fallen off. I don't see anything else here about the lead. Okay, so we're going to have to, we may do like an update when we find something on this stuff. I do find it interesting that they kind of led with that and then just kind of fell off a cliff, and that's usually what happens. That's usually what happens. These investigations start, right? Like the Wanna Weiss, and Schnucks applesauce packets, and what happened? Here we are 6 months later, and it is still in the news. So that's why we got this out here as quick as possible. So, you can make your own decision. Maybe things will pop up now on different Lunchables and lead content. Kraft Heinz, yes, a respectable company, but we definitely need to pay attention because, it could be things that are unseen, things that are even unseen by Kraft and Heinz. Maybe people they deal with, maybe people that are adding ingredients and products from outside the country or even inside the country. We don't really know. Half this stuff, I don't even know if they would disclose where it came from. I don't know. I'm sure they have to. But this is another ongoing event here. So anyway, guys, I know this was a bit of a lengthy coffee rant, but we had these things to discuss tonight. We will continue to update you on all the things that we need to know here in the future. And there are other things, we got to watch for the pesticides. It seems it's in the news. It's in your local news now. I saw it on TV. They were talking about the strawberries having heavy amounts of pesticides, yet no recall. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this information helped. Have a great night.